I turned 15 3 days ago, but things didn't go precisely as planned. My parents surprised me with a family trip to the Callista on my birthday, which I learned about with great delight. I couldn't stop being happy. I was overjoyed since, as the younger, less significant sister, I don't often receive surprises like this. But when I walked downstairs with my luggage to depart with my family a few hours later after I had finished packing, I discovered that my folks had already left. Downstairs, my 17-year-old sister Layla was the only one waiting for me. She is the golden child, the one who consistently manages to convince our parents to comply with her requests. It was the same this time. I realized right away that something wasn't right, since she appeared to be quite joyful. She told me I could go back upstairs and unpack, and that I didn't need to pack my things when I asked her what was going on. I initially believed that the vacation had been completely postponed. She then gave me a sheet of paper with a list of household duties scribbled on it. I had a lot of confusion. Although my parents had surprised me with the vacation early in the morning, Layla informed me that they had made the decision that it would be best for me to remain home and study, because our finals were in a few weeks. She had already completed everything, so in the meanwhile, she could leave. I could concentrate on these domestic chores if I became bored while they were gone in the Callista. She chuckled again and said I should actually be thanking her, instead of appearing offended. Instead of letting me waste time playing outside with my family, she said, she had given me extra time to study and be ready for my finals. I was so wounded that the only thing I could manage to say was to inquire about the whereabouts of our parents. As a birthday present to me, Layla informed me that she had already sent them on their way to the airport, but had lingered behind to personally deliver this message. She stated that Layla had brought up my finals shortly after my parents surprised us with the vacation, but they wanted me to know they weren't putting false hopes in my head. They believed that this was a good thing since they couldn't ignore it. They couldn't bring themselves to shatter my heart, so they had let Layla to inform me. I had no doubt that Layla enjoyed and appreciated the chance to make fun of me in such a way. I pushed down the need to cry in front of her and took my stuff back upstairs. I waited until I heard the front door close before giving in to my tears, which lasted for an hour. Layla has always detested me, and I've always understood that my parents will follow her instructions without question, since she has the ultimate say-so. However, I never thought they would be that mean and degrading to me on my birthday. I've had my fair share of arguments with Layla in the past, and my parents have always supported her, but this was unthinkable. I even emailed my pals on my birthday morning to let them know I wouldn't be able to spend the evening with them as planned after my parents informed me about the surprise trip. They couldn't believe my parents had planned anything similar for me. Some things are, I suppose, just too wonderful to be true. The more I considered my predicament when I stopped weeping, the worse I felt. To get even with my parents and Layla, I made the decision to do something I knew would immensely enrage them. Since I was alone myself at home, I walked into my dad's office and used his phone to call every significant person I could find on his MacBook. I had planned a celebration for my parents' anniversary that evening, and I extended an invitation to them. My intention was to take them by surprise. Despite being invited at the last minute, the majority of his business associates accepted. I treated my mother in the same way. It was simple for me because neither of them had left their password-protected gadgets at home. I sent the same message and extended an invitation to Layla's boyfriend to attend the nighttime party by text message on Instagram. I also invited my own friends, and I enlisted their assistance in decorating the house to resemble a party. When the visitors arrived about 7 o'clock in the evening, they were surprised to discover that my parents had vanished from sight. I informed them that it was an evening surprise, and that they would learn the truth eventually. I executed my plan after taking a group shot with every visitor when they had all arrived. I gave them the precise location of my parents, described how I had been handled, and mentioned how my parents had always complied with Layla's requests. I had never said that I was essentially Cinderella until today. Because Layla felt it was the appropriate thing to do, I revealed what had happened on my birthday, and how my parents had abandoned me without even trying to make an in-person explanation. A great deal of folks were astonished. While my parents present a pleasant and decent front, they don't treat their own children in such a way. I informed everyone that my sister and my parents were the reason I had hosted the party after telling my story. I could see her lover was taken aback to discover her nasty side when I gave them the list of tasks Layla had left me. I said something, and everyone fell silent, till finally people started to leave. Before they went, several came up to comfort me. I wouldn't worry too much about it, but the only thing I felt horrible about was squandering their time. I sent my parents and Layla the group photo after everyone had departed, writing, "Had some guests over for my birthday party today. I believe the list Layla left me will eventually be begun. It was the ideal scheme." My parents replied to that message in a matter of seconds, asking me to undo what I had done, and that they would be returning home on the following flight. I went to my closest friend Sophie's place with my suitcases and blocked them all. I realized the place was no longer mine. Sophie's parents are very kind individuals who have consistently assured me that their doors will always be open. I made the choice to move in with them after accepting their offer. I'm not sure how long Sophie's family will be able to help me, but for the time being, I'm really appreciative to them for allowing me to stay in their house. Anyway, I had no communication from my folks on my birthday. However, they visited Sophie's home the next day. Since everyone knew that Sophie and I had been close friends since we were young, I suppose no one was shocked that I had decided to stay with her. I had made it quite apparent that I was not interested in dealing with her parents, so when my parents arrived, they refused to let them in and told them they had no business attempting to talk to me. I became a little afraid when my parents threatened to file a lawsuit against Sophie's parents. I then instructed them to invite my folks inside, and that I would be available for a conversation. They were enraged with me and told me I had no right to implicate their business colleagues, regardless of what they had done. They said that no colleagues or associates would even talk to them, and that their entire reputation was in shambles. Some of them were blaming me for everything, even going so far as to block my parents. I think it's fair to hold me accountable because I did plan the whole thing, but I also informed them that I wouldn't have done all of this if they had been a little more kind and hadn't made fun of me on my birthday. I finally lost my cool and yelled at them, accusing them of treating me worse than Layla and ruining my life along with my parents. That was something I could never forgive them for. Sophie's parents had to step in because things got pretty hot and we were all screaming at each other. To help me relax, Sophie had to usher me out of the room. Her parents came to me and told me that my folks had departed after I had finally calmed down. They would see to it that I never spoke to my parents until I was ready to see them. They advised me to really think about taking legal action, such as emancipating myself from my parents. It was time to permanently remove them out of my life, since it was becoming more and more clear that they didn't give a damn about me. We are now thinking about emancipation after I chose to consult with a lawyer after talking with Sophie's parents about this. Since this is a big choice, and I don't want to look back, I'm still not sure what to think about it. However, given the current direction of events, I doubt I will regret it. I refuse to let my parents contact me again, but they did so yesterday. I was able to identify my parents from the email address I received last evening. I made a great effort not to open it, but eventually my curiosity got the better of me, and I read it. They began by explaining that one of my father's clients had established a new spa and resort in the Callista, which is why they were surprising me with the trip. My dad chose to take advantage of this chance around my birthday, because it was a benefit for the family. But they didn't want my marks to suffer later, because I had taken a holiday just a few weeks before my examinations, which is why Layla brought up my finals. They were shocked that I thought it was something terrible and attempted to exact revenge on them. They believed it gave the impression that they hadn't reared me properly. Layla wanted to be a nice, caring big sister to me, but she was sad herself. They said that I didn't have to overreact in the manner that I did. All of it was a load of nonsense. I nearly quit reading the email halfway through because I was so irritated. The following section was their outrage that I had exposed our filthy laundry in public and engaged other people. They remarked that no matter how many arguments we had, I had never gone to them and confided in them about my problems. They felt that they could have reconciled with me if I had talked to them just once. They insisted that Layla's list of tasks was a little excessive, but I ought to have phoned them later and addressed the matter. If they had known I was feeling abandoned, they would have returned right away. They were unhappy with everything, though, because of the unexpected way I had handled the matter. They said that this was all a regrettable mistake that had been exaggerated, and that they truly didn't wish to harm me. They want me to talk to them so we can work things out, but at this point, I'm not sure what I want to do. I'm feeling a lot of different things about this. So, could someone please assist me with this? Aite for planning a party and exposing my parents to all of their business acquaintances and co-workers after they neglected me while on vacation? First update. Alright, so the majority of you believe that what I did was totally justified and that they deserved it. That I'm not in need of an apology. I have thus made the decision to not apologize. To prevent them from contacting me, I blocked the email address they were using to get in touch with me. Even though I know they can simply create a new address and try to contact me again, I'll continue to block them. I've already decided that I won't read or reply to whatever they try to say. It's simply not worthwhile. In terms of liberation, I've made the decision to follow through. I understand that I'm still too young, but it's a big thing. However, Sophie and her parents have promised me that they would support me no matter what. If it helps calm my nerves, they even stated they could legally adopt me. That's not anything I've considered yet. We are simply considering the emancipation at this time. After speaking with an attorney, the paperwork is being completed. I genuinely have no idea how my folks will respond. I could tell they were unhappy with my decision to move in with Sophie and her parents when they wrote me that email. It doesn't even make sense to me since it's clear from the way I've been treated that they value Layla more than they do me. It's odd that they're still attempting to get in touch with me. It seems like all they want me back for is to restore their reputation. I'm perplexed right now. All I can do is watch to see how they respond after they receive the documents. They didn't try to contact me again after that email, and it has been a few days since I posted. I've heard that Layla and her boyfriend broke up, and there were a lot of people at the party I invited, so I know things can't be good for them either. Everyone knows why, but not me. Second update. Hello everyone. So a few days ago, the papers pertaining to my legal emancipation were finally given to my parents. I was surprised to learn that they were unhappy about it. There was a heated argument when they phoned Sophie's parents. They thought that I was being controlled by Sophie and her parents, who had set me up for this. They didn't believe that I was acting voluntarily. It didn't make sense to me because I was acting voluntarily, especially in light of how poorly they had treated me. I didn't need any outside pressure to decide this. After my last update, a lot of you indicated they would attempt to save face and say I was being a brat, so I kind of expected this type of response. They were really irate with me since I chose not to return their favor. It won't erase the reality that Sophie's parents deserve this, no matter what names they choose to give them. I will soon be rid of them, as they don't deserve to be my parents. Sophie informed me that, despite my inability to listen closely, my parents had evidently called her parents every epithet in the book. They had threatened to sue them and take this matter to court, claiming that they had no right to subject me to such absurdity. They were extremely angry, and I felt it was strange that they had threatened to injure them. That's not legal, and it will just make them seem worse. I hope they recognize that. The way they had described me to Sophie's parents just confirmed my preconceived notions about them. Their desire to improve their public image overcame their affection for me as a daughter, not because they wanted me back. They'd made no mention of wanting to talk to me or have me back. They persisted in asserting that they were aware of Sophie's parents' desire to damage their image by seeming to be rescuers. My parents believed that Sophie's parents were attempting to expose my mistreatment at home to the public. They had been shouting over the phone, apparently, about how entitled and spoilt I had been. The fact that Sophie and her parents backed me simply served to highlight their unfit status as parents. They would have cared more for my well-being if they had truly loved me as a daughter, I'm quite sure. Rather than scream at Sophie's parents and seem to be attempting to harm my parents' image, They would have made an effort to speak with me. In any case, why would they want to do that? My parents and Sophie's parents are new to one another. They have no motivation to compete, as they have only come to know each other through the two of us. Given that Sophie's parents are far more prosperous and kind than anybody else, it's not like there's any competition at all. However, my parents believe Sophie's parents are just like them since they are so preoccupied with maintaining their perceived image. They think Sophie's parents are just trying to make fun of them and are incapable of caring about me. I really want to let my parents know that Sophie's parents are real and aren't acting like I need saving. Since it was them that I needed to be saved from, they are indeed my saviors. Instead of creating further turmoil, my parents would have expressed regret for what they had done if they had only realized that in the first place. However, no matter how tempted I am, Sophie and her parents have given me strong orders not to get in touch with them. It's simply not worthwhile. I am aware that a few days ago, my parents gave them a call. They informed me they had taped the call after arguing with me over the phone and providing me with only the information they deemed essential. My parents were really foolish because they might utilize it as proof that I should be freed from their control. They also said they wanted me to consider if I wanted to be formally adopted by them. Since I truly like them, I ultimately decided to say yes. It's not just because I know this will make my folks further angrier. The main reason is that I honestly think they are incredibly wonderful and decent individuals. I'm all in since having Sophie as my sister will be a perk. They have informed me that they will talk with the attorney again to begin the necessary paperwork. Knowing that I have better people to live with and rely on might also aid my emancipation cause. To be honest, things keep getting better, and for that, I am really appreciative of them. Third update. Hello, it was a really bad day. To cut a long tale short, Layla severely beat me after school. The English lesson I had last week was in the school's East Wing. She practically surrounded me with a group of her buddies while I was out of class. Unfortunately, because I take a very long time to pack my belongings, I am usually the last one out of class. The majority of individuals had left the classroom by the time I departed. I was a little terrified to see Layla and her pals standing outside, but I tried not to show it. They were really upset with me and told me I couldn't leave the classroom when I tried to. They informed me they had some tasks to settle with me and forced everyone else who was lingering in the classroom to leave. They didn't appear to mind that I made an effort to remain composed and square up so that my panic wouldn't come through. I shouted at Layla to let me go as she took hold of my arm and brought me outside. No one else could hear me since everyone else was talking loudly. Then they dragged me into the janitor's closet, locked me in, and left me there. They were standing outside while I continued to pound on the door. Even if someone heard me, they wouldn't dare take action because Layla and her pals have a bad reputation and are often in the senior class. Layla let me out after he had me in there for over 5 minutes. At that point, almost everyone in that school wing had left, leaving only me and myself against them. She screamed at me at that point, and I took the first slap in the face. She stated I was ungrateful to our parents and branded me selfish. Then it became clear why she was really upset. She blamed me for her boyfriend's breakup with her. She then banged my head on the concrete, which made me feel quite lightheaded. Taking advantage of the situation, she continued to beat me with her fists, while her buddies laughed and watched. It hurt so bad. I made an effort to protect myself, but Layla was considerably heavier and several inches taller. I really began curling up against the wall at one point, but she persisted in beating me. She gave me one last kick when she was pleased, and then she and her pals went as I sobbed against the wall. Sophie eventually discovered me sitting on the floor sobbing uncontrollably around 15 minutes later. She assisted me in getting up after I told her what had happened. I was too sick to walk, so we opted to take a cab home instead of going there together. Her folks seemed quite sad when I told them everything when we arrived home. They called the police after they had already contacted the school. They are rather busy because they have only been speaking on the phone for an hour since then. However, because I'm hurting very badly, Sophie is taking care of me. Everything hurts, and the bruises are only now beginning to appear. Nonetheless, I'm confident that Layla will soon receive her just desserts for this. Fourth update. Greetings. There are several topics I would want to discuss. All I'll do is attempt to make it brief and pleasant. Layla physically assaulted me last week, but luckily the school protected me. They gave the cops access to the security footage from that building's wing. It was not too difficult to charge her with a misdemeanor, and as compensation, she was required to perform community service. The greatest part is that she was also given a 6-week suspension after that. She had been eagerly awaiting prom, but it appears that she won't be able to go. She won't be allowed to take her final exams in front of the whole class either. She can't get away with it by lying. She has to be seated apart. I believe it is highly merited, and when Sophie informed me of everything, I felt a great sense of vindication. The fact that my parents chose to give up my rights following the Layla incident is another fantastic thing that happened. Yes, they renounced their parental rights toward me. I'm finally free because the paperwork has been signed. I am really appreciative of Sophie's parents, who are currently working on formally adopting me. After everything that transpired, my parents said they no longer wanted me to be a part of their family. They will undoubtedly attempt to paint me as the guilty party, but I doubt anyone will go for that. So long as they give it their all, it doesn't concern me. To be honest, I feel like I'm a member of a joyful family now. My new sister and parents are definitely better than the ones I had before. I can attest to that. The fact that things are now going well for me truly amazes me. I think I've never felt happier as I do right now. In fact, I had completely forgotten that my finals were approaching. But now that Sophie and I are becoming serious, we're going to prove to everyone what